Let's talk about this now, shall we, with Marcus Papadopoulos. He's an editor of the UK's Politics First magazine. Thanks very much for being with us, Marcus. Turkey's Deputy Prime Minister says that Syrian intelligence and military are the main suspects in the bombings here. What are their motives for the attack, then, if we follow that through?
Can I just say, first of all, that once again, the world has been served a chilling reminder today of just how volatile the Middle East is. And I really do hope that the United States government will take note of the appalling loss of life today, because if it thinks that pouring more weapons into a conflict will actually resolve it, then it's very, very wrong. It will only bring about more death and destruction. But in regard to the allegation made by Turkey's Deputy Prime Minister today that the usual suspects are President Assad and his government, I would argue that is once again a baseless and, quite frankly, a juvenile comment to make, and it demonstrates the extent to which President Assad has been demonised in a very similar way to as President Radovan Karadzic was demonised and President Slobodan Milosevic was demonised. It's far too early to start pointing fingers. It only happened a few hours ago. What I would say is that this week, Kurdish fighters from the PKK actually started withdrawing from Turkey. Now, it could be a possibility to try and scupper the peace treaty at the moment between the Turkish government and the Kurds. But also, we should take note.
Well, there are the suspects hinted at by Turkey's Prime Minister. I was going to come on to that. He thinks it could be some sort of Kurdish involvement. Is that more feasible then?
It's possible. Certainly, there will be elements within the PKK that will not be happy with the peace treaty.
Marcus, I just want to turn this on its head. You're vehemently saying there, yes, I completely understand it's too early to blame people. However, you're vehemently saying it cannot be Syria. Tell me, therefore, why it cannot be Syria, maybe. Well,
the question I would ask is, why would it be Syria? Why would the Syrian government, when it is fighting a very, very serious internal conflict, it needs all its resources at the moment to put down what is a very, very serious Islamist uprising, an Islamist uprising which is linked to Al-Qaeda. So it's certainly not in the interests of Syria to open up another front, a front against Turkey. But I would just like to make two very quick points. There has been violence earlier this year between Syrian refugees in Turkey and the Turkish authorities, and that did result in some casualties. However, I would also say that a couple of years ago, some Turkish generals were actually found guilty and sentenced to prison by a Turkish court for planning a war against Greece. The details of that was that Turkish planes were going to be shot down by their own sides over the Aegean Sea and blamed on Greece. So given that Turkey is playing a very, very strong role in the Syrian conflict at the moment and is trying to open up a NATO front in Syria, I would argue that it shouldn't be ruled out that there could be a Turkish hand at play here.
Russia and the US have agreed to work towards an international conference on Syria. Could any of it be to try and derail that? There's still no concrete date, but it's on the cards.
Once again, anything is possible. I just think it's too early to start commenting on who could be behind it and what their motives are. But I certainly think that we should step back and we should consider all possibilities. I think the negotiations this week between the Russian and American delegations, I think that's a positive step, because the conflict in Syria can only be resolved through political means and certainly not through violence. But once again, Turkey has been pushing for intervention in Syria, Western military intervention. It's been pushing for a no-fly zone over Syria, in northern Syria. Given that Turkish generals a couple of years ago were planning to provoke a war with Greece, why is it implausible that Turkish generals or members of the Turkish intelligence services wouldn't be doing the same today to try and provoke a war against Syria and thereby bring in NATO?
Food for thought, maybe. Marcus, we've got to leave it there. Marcus Papadopoulos, editor of Politics First magazine. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.